Well, obviously another disappointing loss for us. Really feel bad for our guys that we're not able to get over the hump. You know, it's kind of a tale of two halves. You know, I thought we did a lot of good things to get the lead, and then give them credit in the second half. You know, they found some energy, and they were able to start getting to our paint a little more. You know, that was a big, area that we wanted to address coming in the game. They play the small lineups, and they're always driving and kicking. And I thought in the first half we did a really good job of being in our gaps and kind of still being able to make them take contested shots. And then in the second half, I thought Cowan got in the paint a little bit more. Certainly it allowed Smith to get some dunks and layups. And then Wiggins is shooting. Some of those guys stepping up and making some big threes. But it's a tough one to swallow tonight, because I thought our guys were really ready to play. You know, I thought they really, after a quick turnaround from Saturday being on the road, I thought we were locked in, and I felt we were going to play well, and we did. And we still just have to get to the point when, a team makes a little bit of a run on us. That's where, you gotta get really tough, and you gotta dig down, and you gotta recontrol kind of the momentum of the game. And we've had 3 or 4 of those this year where, when teams have done that to us, we haven't been able to, to get it back. And tonight was certainly one of those games.
What's the post-game message like in the locker room after like a lot of familiar storylines, consecutive defeats? Does it stay the same? Do you have to change what you say to these guys after so many disappointing losses?
I think, I think you have to kind of pick and choose what your team needs. I think there was a lot of frustration tonight, and, I think like a game like Saturday, the Illinois game, it was a different narrative. I thought our fight and on the road, but tonight to have the lead that we did and to kind of, let it slip away in the second half, I think the message was a little more stern tonight about not being negative with the guys, but just about how tough you got to be to win in this league. Requires not only good play, but it requires a lot of toughness, because the games are long and there's going to be a lot of runs. And, you can't expect that they weren't going to go on a little bit of a run at some point. And when they do, especially when you're at home, you got to really dig down, and you got to get stops, and you got to find baskets. I thought we had a couple times where, we missed some shots in the lane, or we had a couple key turnovers, which then led to threes, or, there was a big possession late where we had transition, and Pat, who had played great, kind of missed a layup in transition, and they called an over-the-back foul on Pete. So instead of the game going from 4 to 2, it went back up to 6 when they made. So, those little plays like that, when you're trying to get over the hump, you need those things to go right. And, we're just going to keep at it with our guys. I mean, there's going to be no, you got to keep developing. You got to keep teaching. You got to keep preparing. And, I'm just hoping, when we can break through, that can lead to sustained success. I've seen this before. I've been a part of it before. Usually young groups, the final thing you see are the wins and losses. You see development, you see growth, but it's really hard to win at this level. And, it's the last step is kind of, being able to break through and learn how to win these conference games. And that's what our group did before a few years ago. We started 1-10. It was very similar if you look back. I think even playing Maryland, I think we had a 13-point lead in one of those games with about 4 minutes to go, and Des Wells tipped one in at the buzzer. And we finally broke through and ended up, I think, winning 5 of our last 7. So we're going to keep at it. We're going to get in the gym. We're going to keep working. We've got a lot of young guys. Certainly we can't dispirit our guys, but yet we have to be on them. We have to be tough with them. We got to coach them up and help them be better in these situations.
Chris, speaking of that losing streak, when he was a senior, Bryant looked back at that and said, "I never lost my love for the game, but I questioned if I was a winner, if I could do it here." Are you worried about that happening this group, and how do you as a coach?
Yeah, no, that's where I got to be, I got to be at my best, my staff and I. Certainly when you lose, losing takes its toll. Especially these guys. I mean, I wish you guys could see. I talk about it a lot, but the investment that they put in, the hours they put in terms of the practices, but not only that, taking care of their bodies and the extra stuff, the extra film work, all those things. And when you keep coming up short, kind of the way we have, where you might have a lead or you right there and you have heartbreaking losses, that's where the leadership, and particularly me, I gotta make sure that doesn't happen, and we got to keep them upbeat. We got to keep them fighting. We got to keep pushing them, and again, keep talking about that breakthrough, and hopefully, when we get that, because it's coming. I mean, I think anybody who sees us play, I mean, we're a different team than we were a month ago. I mean, the improvement in our guys across the board has been great to watch, and. Getting Boo back. I mean, I knew Boo was going to be rusty. He really hasn't done much for about a month. So, but just having him back out there and being able to play, he'll get experience the rest of the year. And when you look out there and you see Robbie Barron and Pete Nance and Ryan Young and Miller Kopp and Jared Jones, these are all kids that are in, the early stages of their careers. And so it's up to our staff to keep them going, to fight through the adversity. And a lot of times you look back, as hard as it is to go through it. I remember as a player, I was on a team that's probably the only Duke team in the last 30 years that didn't go to the tournament. In 1995 when I was a junior, and we were, I think, 2-14 in the conference. Yeah, and I look back on that time of my life, and that was the biggest growth I ever made, because it forced me to look inside myself as a player and find something. Find a toughness, find what I needed to come out the next year and to win and to be an all-league player and all those things. And that's what our guys need to do. You learn sometimes your biggest lessons through adversity if you handle it right, and you're being tested to, okay, how important is this? Is it okay to keep losing, or am I going to try to push myself even harder to find a way to win?
Does it help having Bryant in the locker room, being able to
Sure.
talk to him and
Yeah.
tell these guys up and down?
All the time. I mean, I reference that group and having him there to kind of add things from the player perspective. Sometimes you see the finished product, of what teams, are doing, and you forget the journey. And no one wanted the record to be where it is right now, but I think we all knew coming into this thing, when you looked at our roster, that it was going to be a group that was going to need to be developed and was going to need to learn how to win. And it's just disappointing, because I feel like we should have more wins than we have. So it's that's the hard part. That's the frustrating part, because I feel like we've played well enough to win a couple more of these league games, and it just hasn't happened for us.
Coach, how is Ryan Young feeling after the fall, and did his injury change his usage in the second half?
Well, I mean, he was fighting through it. I mean, it was a tough fall, and the medical staff gave him the okay. I think it's a contusion, but I mean, anybody who's fallen like that on that part of the body, it hurts, and it's going to hurt more tomorrow. Once he cools down and stiffens up, and fortunately for us, we don't play till Sunday, so I'm hoping with treatment. And but he's a warrior. The kid, he battles. I admire him. I mean, as a freshman in this league this year, I've never seen a collection of big men in a conference as good as this year. So you're talking about throwing Ryan Young every night, and he's playing against Jalen Smith and Luka Garza and Otoro and Kofi Coburn and Caleb Wesson and Xavier Tillman, and going on and on. I know I'm forgetting a bunch of them. That's just off the top of my head. I mean, how good is that for his development? And he's doing well. He's getting better. You see, he's learning how to score down there. He's making plays. He's going to be a really good player for us, and he's a warrior, so I appreciate him fighting through that injury tonight.
Can you explain the process of getting Boo Boo back for today?
Yeah, I mean, really, it was a stress injury, so a big part of that is rest. They don't really want the pounding, and you got to listen to the doctors and make sure you stay off it, which he did. He was cleared to start doing some things on the court on Friday, the day before our Illinois game. So he was cleared to and it wasn't a full practice. He was cleared to do some court work Friday. He did some court work Saturday before our game at Illinois, and then really had 2 days of practice, Sunday and Monday, where he was cleared to get in there and get reps, at full speed and contact. So to expect a freshman who's been out a month, to come in and be house of fire. I knew there was going to be some rust, and there's going to be. I mean, anytime you've been out like that, it takes some time to get your rhythm back, and it was just good to have him back out there. He's a huge part of what we're doing for the future, and he needs these games. He needs this experience to get better playing against a kid like Cowan.
And he was your guy in crunch time in December. He took a lot of shots. You had him in the game down the stretch. Why did you want him in the game down the stretch?
Because I believe in him. He's a big shot taker. He's a big shot maker. That's what he's going to do in his career, and he's got to be in there. He's got to be in there, and you got to learn through successes and failures. And he's in there because I believe that he can do good things at that time of the game.
Hey, Chris, in terms of, it seemed like you guys withstood their first run. Pat got the lead back. What was the difference in the way they sort of went on the other run?
Yeah, well, I thought there was a big possession. I think it was at 4 points. And Spencer, we got a long rebound or a steal, I forget, and we had a layup in transition that we missed, and they called an over the back, the 2 we didn't get, and then they called over the back, and we were in the double bonus. So instead of it going to 2, it went to 6, and then we didn't score, and I think they came down and hit a 3, and I thought those couple possessions, really that was the separation they needed. I thought we got their speed and quickness wore us down, as the game. They really spread the floor. We tried to stay in gaps, and, when Wiggins started making shots, it really spread us out more, which gave Cowan more space than he had in the first half when they weren't shooting as well. Yeah, confidence. Part of it too is, I always thought last year it was kind of difficult, him and Bruno playing together. He's now in a position where, they spread the floor around him, and he can roll to the basket, he can pick and pop, he can fly because they put four skill guys around him. I thought he showed stretches last year where he could be really good, and the talent was there. You saw it, but sometimes when you have 2 big guys, there can be less space. And as good as Bruno, obviously Bruno was fantastic. So I think, he's obviously stronger. He's worked on his game. He's shooting the ball. He's got a great body. But, confidence and experience and mixed with his talent makes for a pretty darn good player. Yeah, thank you guys.